player from around here. He plays a lot of Rug Delver, and he's on your left here with blue, white, red control. And I believe you know Markus.
He's playing against Markus Thibeau. Right? Yep, he's from Victoria, Canada. So made the trip across the bay to make it here.
Yeah, and so it's Esper control for him, and Markus is up a game. And these are two kind of ponderous decks, so we might not get through to the third game.
So the blue-white-red versus Esper matchup's interesting. The one question is the blue-white-red deck, which you'd want to know, is it packing the Reckoner Harvest Pyre combo?
It is not. I was looking in the main, and it does not have it there. So the ways that the blue-white-red deck here is going to close out the game is Thundermaw Hellkite, Aurelia, and then the sideboard Assemble the Legions.
Right.
And Assemble the Legion is the only one that is going to close out the game really quickly, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty dicey. That's a pretty dicey situation. That really is good for Esper. They're, blue, white, red is somewhat of a board control deck, and Esper is just a control deck. Markus does not. He only has 2 detention spheres, so he has to make sure that those Assembled Legions stay in check. But that said, he should be able to fairly readily deal with anything the blue, white, red deck can do. Markus will win with Drown Yards.
Yeah. So Michael's route to winning here is Markus stumbling on something, or Michael being able to land early, Assemble a Legion, and then untap and protect it, right?
Yeah. Now Markus tapped out for turn 4 Jace, which may have been a little aggressive, as if Michael draws a land, because Michael turned a chance to resolve Assemble the Legion. He does not draw the land. If Markus has a detention sphere, that's more acceptable, but you'd have to worry about your opponent resolving something like that, or maybe even like a Jace Memory Adept. There's a lot of cards that you really don't want him to resolve.
Yeah, I thought for a second that Markus maybe didn't have a 5th land and he was getting desperate to draw one, but he had the 5th and drew the 6th this turn.
I think Markus, wisely, he has an Obsidat in his hand, he's electing not to cast it.
Yeah.
In this matchup, Markus doesn't have to cast anything ever.
Yeah,
which is and I can't even understate how, I'm not exaggerating when I say that Markus can just play land go every turn for the entire game.
Yeah. No, the way Markus stumbles is just not hitting his land drops, right?
Exactly.
That's the only thing he needs to worry about in the early game.
Or the late game.
Or the late game.
That's just really the only thing he has to worry about. He'll just continue to drown on end step, and that should be enough.
Yeah. So, what do you think he was thinking when he went to cast that Jace on turn 4?
I think Jace is a pretty cool card, and he was thinking that it's early enough in the game that he's not. I think the card he can't let resolve is Revelation, and at that point in the game, Revelation is not a threat. And I would say that's what he was thinking.
Okay. So Michael is running out a Restoration Angel at the end of Markus's turn.
That should be fine. Markus will murder it.
Seems reasonable. He still gets keep up.
Michael had to discard Clone.
Yeah. Michael went up to 8 cards, drawing that Angel. So Michael has drawn a land for the turn.
All right, there's land 5. He can go for Assemble the Legion. It's unlikely to work.
Yeah.
And he knows that.
He really wants to find some way. He wants Markus to tap out for a sorcery speed thing that he counters with Syncopate, and then
the difficulty is that Michael's counterspells is Syncopate, which isn't a great counterspell here.
Well, and Michael also has a Dissipate and a Dispel in hand.
This still seems a little aggressive. I know, which is funny, right? I'm saying, oh man, casting an Obsidat on 8, that's a little aggressive. You should wait till you at least have 10.
No, it's very reasonable, because Markus is going to lose this counter war.
I don't like fighting over the spell at all.
Yeah.
Don't fight over anything. Don't tap out. What you should be fighting over is your opponent's Sphinx's Revelation.
Yeah. And Markus does have a detention sphere, and I think he has a Sphinx's Revelation too, or maybe that's his Aria's Charm. So maybe he just wants to get the counters out, but he just doesn't need to do
Michael gave Markus a ton of respect there, and more than he really probably should have had. He dispelled the counterspell as opposed to syncopating it, because I think he's playing around a dispel from Markus, or maybe he thinks that syncopate can hit something else, but it seems to me that in that situation you should be overjoyed at the prospect that your syncopate was turned live again.
Yeah. And so there's the detention sphere, which
that's what you have to do.
He has to do it, but Markus shouldn't have had to
dissipate, syncopate, and dissipate goes away.
All right, pretty dissipate goes away.
Yeah, I would have just said dissipate and let my opponent choose which one they want to discard. It's kind of that thing, if you ever play on Moto and someone just say they address you and there's a dissipate and a foil dissipate, 10 out of 10 times they take your foil dissipate. And I'm always just like, what a jerk. It's not. And they'd be like, oh, it's the better card. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Listen, what is the point of playing Magic Online if you can't make your opponent miserable?
No, they always take your foil version. And I'm not even kidding. Just every time. Yeah. Anyway, okay, Markus with his second Drown Yard.
Yeah.
I don't know when he's going to decide to start drowning. He should only be single. This is the best part. Like, when I play Black-White Control, every time I make any play at all, I feel like I'm punting.
Yeah.
You know, like right here, I'd be like, oh, Markus shouldn't tap out with a second Drown Yard because now Michael could Sphinx his Revelation.
Yeah.
And it's true. So, like, you know, not only do I have 9 mana in play and nothing to do with any of it, but you probably shouldn't, you shouldn't tap out to drown him until at least land 12 on his end step. And you're just like, oh gosh.
But so Michael is going to get to resolve Sphinx's Revelation here, but it's only for 2.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because it was Snapcaster.
Sure, it's like...
that's fine.
But Markus should learn from this and should realize that he can't do that. He can't tap out for the second one.
And, you know, it's definitely in Marcus's benefit to control the pacing of this game and take it slow and, you know, make sure that he's not making any
mistakes. Now Markus is
mistakes.
Trading Revelations here. I do not like that. Why? I don't want each player to draw 7. That's miserable. Your opponent's going to use them so much better than you.
So the concern here is that Michael has drawn another Revelation and gets to tap out for it.
Yeah.
And,
I don't want to trade that. Then you both are at 7s again. We were doing so well. I don't see a reason to do that.
Yeah. And it looks like Michael has something because he's played an untapped Sacred Foundry. He's got an Aurelia in his hand. Maybe he's going to go beatdown mode. I assume you leave in some number of Supreme Verdicts if you're the Esper deck, but not all of them. Is that correct?
I don't see why I'd leave any of them in.
Okay.
As long as I have some kill spells to deal with whatever creatures they might be playing, the only reason you'd leave in Supreme Verdict is because it says can't be countered on it. That's the only cool part about it.
And like I feel like I would rather have Supreme Verdict than the murder that we
a
saw
sorcery
already.
speed counter spell that just can't be countered. A sorcery speed kill spell. You can, it's fine. You just need to make sure you leave enough kill spells in. Because you have Snapcasters, I'm a little more inclined to leave in the murder because I like snapping it more.
Okay. Because it's just cheaper and...
Yep. Yeah. So Aurelia the War Leader is going to deal a significant amount of damage.
So we hit Markus for 10, puts him to 17, but he's got a fistful of cards, which
you have to assume that he has some way to deal with this.
Yeah, so there's Snapcaster, I think there's Supreme Verdict in there, and a bunch of lands. What are we doing?
Flashing back King twice?
We're snapcasting something?
Oh, we're going to Snapcast Murder. That's what it looks. It appears that Snapcaster Mage Murder is going to happen.
Maybe it's a Zorius Charm I saw and not a Supreme Verdict.
See, I don't like this. So what I would do is instead of this kill spell, I would simply Azorius Charm the Aurelia and then mill her.
Okay. Because it's just cheaper?
No, because it gives your Snapcaster the ability to Snapcaster and negate. Because I still want that. I don't want to actually use the Snapcaster because it's more valuable than this because I already have a different way to answer it.
Sorry, there's a Zorius Charm in Marcus's
There's a Zorius Charm in his
I thought
hand.
I was talking about.
So
but
I'd rather play the one out of his hand and then drown it off the top.
That totally makes sense. The spells and the ability to play a bunch of different spells in your graveyard gives you so much more flexibility with the Snapcaster Mage. And we're tapping out again.
Yeah, Markus does not have he has his counterspells post board are 2 negate, 2 dissipate. I suppose but still seems.
I think he just
aggressive.
approaches this matchup
very differently than I do.
Than you do.
Yeah,
or maybe the deck different from you. He chooses not to exile Obsidat. Apparently, it's sitting there in the middle of the battlefield.
Oh.
Maybe
that is strange.
He
just wants to block.
Or
that could mean that this is a telegraph of Esper Charm, of Searing Spear or Azorius Charm.
Yeah. Michael is looking for a way to get back in this, and it does not look particularly good for him. He's still way behind on cards, and while he does have a bunch of counterspells in his hand, just the presence of the Drown Yards, much less the Obsidat, makes it very hard for him to come back. So here's an Azorius Charm, and like having resolved the Obsidat, I think I just want to flicker it in and out and not care about.
You mean like you wish that wouldn't have happened?
Like I wish that he hadn't attacked, and I was just going to gain like
it could
2
happen.
life turns.
So like, and I understand this is just a theoretical difference how I approach matchup. I don't really, if I'm Marcus, I don't care that they did that because I was never planning to kill him with damage in the first place. So they're like, okay, you played a spell, cool. Like, yeah, now it's on top of my deck, whatever. Like, you know, I'll just drown you.
I just don't want to draw it again.
Like say I had a negate in my hand. For
I would not counter that.
Definitely no. I don't even want to draw. I don't really even want to leave up. The reason I leave Obsidat in is in case my opponent was playing like Pithing Needles, a lot, like multiple Pithing Needles on Drown Yard,
and
I guess.
Jace and
Yeah, I guess just because I want a fallback, but I'm not actually planning to win with Obsidat if I'm Marcus.
No, that's reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, this matchup's very miserable for blue-white red, to be fair.
Yeah.
The Reckoner version has a little more game because they can 13 you.
Yeah.
Or like 20 you with Boros Reckoner. And then they can play Boros Reckoner, and then they can have a big counter war over that one Harvest Pyre. And they actually have enough counter spells that they can win a counter war against Esper. So but if they don't have Reckoner, it's really hard. His spells just really don't do anything.
Yeah.
You look at all you look at all these lands Marcus has and you think, how can you possibly lose this match?
You can't. It's got 2 counter spells and 1 Azorius Charm, maybe 2 Azorius Charms. Looks like 2 Dissipates, 2 Azorius Charms, and the Obsidat in his hand, and he doesn't want to cast any of those ever.
Right.
We just
you just want to sit there with 7
drown.
cards and then not play any of them. That's like should be every Esper player's dream. It's like, you played this spell, and I have 5 ways to answer it. It resolves. You know.
And we're at 10 cards in library for Michael, so this is going to be over. Right now.
Yeah.
Michael realizes that you can, tosses them away.
So Marcus Thibeau wins 2 games to 0 over Michael Swailes, moves to 5-1. Both these players with a loss. So Michael out of top 8 contention. Marcus needing 3 or 4 more wins.
Yeah. Well,
easy.
So good luck to Marcus for the rest of the day, and Michael, he's going to get a chance to try it again tomorrow in Legacy.
Absolutely. Still definitely live for live to be in the prize for the tournament.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But